Hello, my name is Mr. Smith, and I'm going to be taking you through the tried and tested, most effective way of making notes as you transition into A-level. That's the Cornell method. So here's your blank piece of paper, and the first thing you're going to do, without fail, is to write your name, the subject, title, and date. And this is just good organisation, good basic note keeping. On that fateful day when your ring binder gives up and you spread your notes across the classroom floor, you are going to be very glad that you made a note of the date and the subject so that you can go back, easily reinsert those and not have to worry. Next, you need to draw two lines, one vertical and one horizontal, and you're dividing the page into three sections as I've shown. And now what I'm going to do is tell you what you're going to write in each section and when you're going to write it. The first section, the biggest section, is the main body of your notes. So this can be detailed, it could be rough, it could be written really quickly. It's just what you're doing in the moment. So whether that's notes from a textbook, from a lecture, from a video, it is the best you can do. So if you're quick and you can make really detailed notes, then you do that. If you are quite sort of a slow writer, then this section isn't going to be necessarily as detailed as it might be. The next section is the key points. And this is what you want to do either at the end of the lecture or when you're taking a break or when you're moving on to a new page. And here you just pull through the absolute key points in your notes. In this example, I've made notes on a lecture on Jeremy Bentham's Principle of Utility, and I've got there his name and date. I've got the two key terms from this section of the lecture, which were hedonism and principle of utility. And I've got this wonderful short, sweet quote, the greatest good for the greatest number. And it would be my hope that a student would go away and remember those points. And if they were writing an essay, they could come back, look at those headings, and then see the detail in their notes to go back to. The last section is something that you probably don't want to do on the same day, that you might want to do at a later point. And I wouldn't say leave it months until you've just started revising for the exam, but I would say perhaps do it a week afterwards, perhaps do it 2 weeks afterwards. It's a summary, and the benefit of this is twofold. Firstly, just going back and rereading and condensing that information down into like 4 or 5 bullet points has an amazing impact on how much you remember and how much you can use going forward into future lectures. And secondly, it helps with revision as well, because you will come back to these notes potentially as far as 2 years into the future, hoping to kind of remind yourself of what was said. If a question comes up on the principle of utility and you've learnt it in September 2019, you're answering it in June 2021, you'll be glad you've written the summary there, because it's such an important revision tool. And again, you can work backwards. So you read through the summary, you look at the key points on the left hand side, and then you can reread your notes for a little bit more detail. And honestly, that is the most effective method of note taking. It's really easy to get used to. You can even start to think about pre-lining your pages before you go into the lecture. And then it makes your notes really well organized, and it makes them into a really good revision tool instead of a massive folder of sort of closely written A4 sheets that you're never going to want to look at again. So I hope you found that helpful, and really good luck starting your A-level.